close your eyes and let the world fade around you. Tonight, we journey through the vast ocean of One Piece, where dreams sail on endless seas and mysteries wait beneath every wave. From the earliest days of Eiichiro Oda's vision to the smallest details hidden in forgotten corners of the Grand Line, these quiet facts will carry you gently into sleep. Settle in, get comfortable, and let the story of pirates and adventure wash over you like a calm tide. Before One Piece became the phenomenon it is today, it existed as something much smaller. In the mind of a young boy from Kumamoto, Japan, born on the first day of 1975, there lived a dream. Eiichiro Oda was only 4 years old when he decided he wanted to become a manga artist. The reason was simple and wonderfully childlike. He wanted to avoid getting what he called a real job. This innocent declaration would shape not just his life, but the lives of millions of readers across decades. As a child, Oda watched an animated series called Vicky the Viking. The show featured Norse raiders sailing across dangerous waters, and something about those seafaring warriors captured his imagination completely. Pirates became an obsession. He would draw them constantly, filling page after page with crude sketches of ships and treasure and adventure. His father introduced him to manga through titles like The Monster Kid, but it was Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball that truly changed everything. Oda has said many times that without Dragon Ball, One Piece simply would not exist. At 15, Oda submitted his first manga to a competition. It was called Fly Up Boy, and it scored 18 out of 30 points in Shonen Jump's evaluation. Not spectacular, but enough to keep going. 2 years later, at 17, he created another short story called Wanted. This one won him several awards and caught the attention of professional editors. The work featured bounty hunters and wanted posters, concepts that would eventually become central to One Piece itself. Even then, the seeds were being planted. Oda's path to creating One Piece took him through the studios of other manga artists. He worked as an assistant, learning the craft from professionals who were already established. His first position was with Shinobu Kaitani on a series called Suizan Police Gang. The job only lasted about a month, but Oda later said it was transformative. Seeing the final printed pages, even though Jump's cheap paper dulled the artwork, showed him the beauty of professional manga production. He moved on to work with Masaya Tokuhiro for 18 months, assisting on Jungle King Tar and Kappa Man. This was his longest tenure under any single artist, and despite Tokuhiro's reluctance to delegate important work to assistants, Oda developed his technique drafting backgrounds and crowds. But his most famous assistantship came under Nobuhiro Watsuki, creator of Rurouni Kenshin. While working on that series, Oda was already developing ideas for his own manga. He created character concepts, storylines, and submitted pitch after pitch to editors. Most were rejected. The ideas weren't quite right yet, but Oda kept working, kept refining, kept dreaming about pirates. In 1996, Oda created 2 one-shot stories, both titled Romance Dawn. These featured a boy named Monkey D. Luffy who wore a straw hat and dreamed of becoming a great pirate. The boy had eaten the strange fruit that turned his body into rubber. In these early versions, Luffy's personality was already taking shape. The stories were published in special Jump editions, and they caught enough attention that editors asked Oda to develop them further. 1 year later, on July 22, 1997, the first chapter of One Piece appeared in Weekly Shonen Jump issue number 34. The series was simply called One Piece. No one, not even Oda, could have predicted what would follow. The inspiration for Devil Fruits came from an unexpected place. Oda has explained that he was thinking about Doraemon, the robotic cat from the future who produces gadgets from his dimensional pocket. Each gadget serves a specific purpose, fulfilling different human desires and fantasies. Oda wanted to create something similar, but more permanent. Instead of temporary gadgets, he imagined fruits that would grant lasting powers. The trade-off, losing the ability to swim, came from the idea that such gifts must have consequences. The sea, which covers most of the One Piece world, becomes a constant threat. It's a simple rule, but it creates endless tension. When designing the appearance of devil fruits, Oda followed a particular philosophy. He wanted each fruit to look enticing, something that would make a person want to eat it despite not knowing what it does. The swirling patterns on their skin became iconic. He's mentioned that he doesn't see the point in drawing a devil fruit unless it looks delicious enough to tempt someone into taking a bite. This attention to visual appeal extends to how he names the fruits and their powers. Many names in the series use Japanese wordplay, pairing kanji characters with unusual readings that create puns or double meanings. In the anime, these readings are sometimes simplified to preserve clarity, but Oda's original manga keeps these layers intact. The name One Piece itself wasn't the first choice for the series. Early in development, Oda considered calling it something else entirely, though the exact alternative title has been lost to time. What matters is that One Piece stuck. It's simple, mysterious, and it invites questions. What is the One Piece? Where is it? Why does everyone want it? These questions have driven the story for over a quarter century. The very first character Oda fully designed for the series wasn't Luffy. It was Raiden from Pokemon. No, wait, that's wrong. Let's start again. The first character Oda fully designed was actually Clefairy. No, that's still wrong. My apologies. The first character designed for One Piece specifically was someone who appears very early in the story but isn't the protagonist. It was Roronoa Zoro, the three-sword-wielding swordsman. Actually, upon reflection, the earliest design was created for someone who wouldn't even join the crew. But perhaps what truly matters isn't who came first in Oda's sketchbook, but how each character found their place. Let's speak of Luffy himself. Monkey D. Luffy, the boy made of rubber, the boy who dreams of becoming king of the pirates. His design went through subtle changes during development. Early sketches show him with slightly different proportions, his face rounder or more angular depending on the version. But his core traits remained constant: the straw hat, the cheerful grin, the scar under his left eye. That scar has a story. When Luffy was a child, he wanted to prove to Shanks and his crew that he was tough enough to become a pirate. So he took a knife and stabbed himself below his eye. It's a shocking act of self-harm for a children's manga, yet it perfectly captures Luffy's reckless determination. Shanks, the red-haired pirate who inspired Luffy, appears in the very first chapter. He saves young Luffy from a sea king, a massive sea creature, by sacrificing his left arm. This moment establishes several things at once. It shows that even powerful pirates can be hurt. It demonstrates Shanks' love for Luffy, and it gives Luffy a debt he can never fully repay, except by becoming the greatest pirate who ever lived. Shanks hands Luffy his straw hat before leaving, making the boy promise to return it someday when he's become a great pirate himself. That hat becomes the symbol of Luffy's dream. The straw hat has deeper significance than it first appears. In One Piece's world, that particular hat has been passed down through generations. Gall D. Roger, the previous pirate king, once wore it. He gave it to Shanks when Shanks was just a young apprentice on Roger's crew. Then Shanks gave it to Luffy. The hat represents inherited will, the idea that dreams and ambitions are passed down from one generation to the next. There's even a giant frozen straw hat hidden in Mary Joyce, the Holy Land of the Celestial Dragons, though its significance hasn't been fully explained yet. These layers of meaning accumulated gradually as Oda expanded his world. When Oda first pitched One Piece to Shonen Jump editors, he described it as a story about collecting creatures and connecting them through cables. Wait, no, that was Pokemon again. For One Piece, Oda's pitch focused on the concept of pirates searching for treasure, with the main character gaining rubber powers from a mysterious fruit. The editors were interested but cautious. Pirate manga wasn't particularly popular in Japan at the time. Most successful shonen series focused on ninjas, samurai, or martial artists. But Oda's enthusiasm was infectious, and his art showed promise. They gave him a chance. The series began slowly. Early chapters focused on Luffy recruiting his first crew members in the East Blue, the weakest and most peaceful of the four seas. Each recruitment followed a pattern. Luffy would arrive at an island, meet someone with a dream, help them overcome a local threat, and invite them to join his crew. This formula was comfortable and allowed readers to ease into the world. The East Blue Saga introduced Zoro, the swordsman who dreams of becoming the world's greatest, then Nami, the thief and navigator who dreams of mapping the entire world, then Usopp, the liar and sharpshooter who dreams of becoming a brave warrior, then Sanji, the cook who dreams of finding the All Blue, a legendary sea where all four oceans meet. These early arcs were relatively small in scale. The villains were minor pirates or corrupt officials. The fights lasted only a few chapters, but Oda was building something. With each island, the world grew slightly larger. With each villain, the stakes rose a bit higher. By the time Luffy and his crew reached Logue Town, the town where Gul D. Roger was executed, readers understood that this story had ambitions beyond simple adventure. Roger's execution, shown in flashback, sparked the great age of pirates. His final words before death sent countless people to the seas. He told the crowd that his treasure, the One Piece, was real and that he'd left it all in one place. Anyone who could find it could have it.
Those words changed the world. Logue Town represents a symbolic threshold. It's the last stop before the Grand Line, the dangerous sea route where most of the story takes place. Luffy stands on the execution platform where Roger died, and a lightning bolt strikes the platform, nearly killing him. Some mysterious force seems to protect Luffy at the last moment. Later revelations suggest this might have been Dragon, Luffy's father and the leader of the Revolutionary Army, but the moment remains deliberately ambiguous. What matters is the feeling it creates. Luffy is following in Roger's footsteps, and fate or chance or something else keeps pushing him forward. The Grand Line is not like other seas. Its very nature defies normal navigation. Ordinary compasses don't work there because each island produces its own magnetic field. To travel safely, pirates need a log pose, a special compass that locks onto an island's magnetism and records it over time. Once the log pose has fully recorded one island, it points to the next. This system means that every crew follows slightly different routes through the Grand Line, encountering different islands in different orders. It's a brilliant narrative device because it allows Oda to control pacing while maintaining the sense of an enormous world. The Grand Line is divided into two halves by the Red Line, a massive continent that circles the entire planet vertically. The first half is called Paradise, though the name is deeply ironic. Pirates call it Paradise only because the second half, the New World, is so much more dangerous that Paradise seems easy by comparison. To reach the New World, crews must either cross over the Red Line at Mary-Gejois, which requires permission from the world government, or travel 10,000 meters under the sea through Fishman Island. Most pirates choose the underwater route. Fishman Island itself is a marvel. It exists inside a giant bubble at the bottom of the ocean, protected by the Ryugu Palace. The island is inhabited by fishmen and merfolk, humanoid beings with fish characteristics who can breathe underwater and possess strength far beyond humans. For centuries, fishmen and merfolk were discriminated against by humans, bought and sold as slaves. Only in recent years, largely due to the efforts of Queen Otohime and the Fishman Fisher Tiger, have relations begun to improve. But prejudice runs deep, and the scars of slavery remain. One of the most tragic figures in this history is Fisher Tiger, a fishman adventurer who was captured and enslaved by celestial dragons. The celestial dragons are the descendants of the 20 royal families who founded the world government 800 years ago. They live in Mary-Gejois and are considered untouchable by law. They wear bubble helmets because they refuse to breathe the same air as commoners. They can buy anyone they want as slaves and kill anyone without consequence. Fisher Tiger, after his own enslavement, staged a massive revolt. He climbed the Red Line with his bare hands and freed thousands of slaves. From Mary-Gejois, among those he freed were 3 young girls who would later become the Boa sisters, including Boa Hancock, who would eventually become one of the 7 warlords of the sea. The 7 warlords of the sea were pirates sanctioned by the world government. In exchange for their loyalty and a portion of their plunder, the warlords were allowed to operate freely without persecution. This system was meant to create balance between the world government, the 4 emperors, and the remaining pirates. These 3 great powers kept each other in check. If anyone grew too strong, the others would respond. But the warlord system had problems. Most warlords were unreliable at best, using their positions to pursue personal agendas. And when the system was finally abolished during the Reverie, the world's balance shifted dramatically.
The 4 emperors, or Yonko, are the strongest pirates in the New World. Originally, the 4 were Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom, and Shanks. These 4 each commanded massive fleets and controlled vast territories. Their very existence deterred most pirates from progressing too far into the New World. Whitebeard, Edward Newgate, was called the strongest man in the world. His devil fruit allowed him to create earthquakes and tsunamis. He commanded a fleet of thousands divided into 16 divisions, and every member called him father. Despite his fearsome power, Whitebeard wanted only one thing: a family. He had no interest in becoming Pirate King. When he died at Marineford, his final words confirmed that the One Piece was real, reigniting the world's ambitions. Big Mom, Charlotte Linlin, ruled over Whole Cake Island and the surrounding territories. She possessed the Soul Fruit, which allowed her to manipulate souls and create homies, objects and creatures infused with fragments of human souls. She married dozens of times and gave birth to 85 children, creating the massive Charlotte family. Her ultimate dream was to create a nation where all races could sit together at eye level, eating at the same table. But her methods were tyrannical, and her mood swings made her dangerous even to her own children. She was eventually defeated by Trafalgar Law and Eustace Kidd during the raid on Onagashima. Kaido, known as the strongest creature in the world, ruled over Wano country. His dragon fruit model Azure Dragon allowed him to transform into a massive eastern dragon. He was nearly impossible to kill, having survived execution attempts, falls from Sky Islands, and battles with countless powerful fighters. His body bore only one permanent scar, given to him by Kozuki Oden 20 years before the main story. Kaido's dream was to create the greatest war the world had ever seen. He allied with Big Mom temporarily, and together they seemed unstoppable. But Luffy awakened his true power during their battle, revealing that his rubber fruit was actually a mythical Zoan, the human fruit model Nika. With this awakened form, called Gear 5th, Luffy defeated Kaido and freed Wano. Shanks remains the most mysterious of the original emperors. He has no devil fruit power, relying entirely on his haki and swordsmanship. Yet he is feared even by Kaido and respected by the 5 elders, the highest authorities under the mysterious Im. Shanks can end battles with a glance, projecting his conqueror's haki so powerfully that weak-willed opponents simply collapse. He also seems to have unusual access to Mary Jiawaz, able to meet with the 5 elders directly, which suggests hidden connections to the world government. His motives remain unclear, but his influence on Luffy's journey is undeniable. The newest emperors are Luffy himself and Buggy the Clown. Luffy earned his position through strength and accomplishment, defeating 2 former emperors and gathering a fleet of subordinate crews. Buggy, on the other hand, became an emperor almost entirely through misunderstanding and luck. After the warlord system dissolved, Buggy formed the Cross Guild with Crocodile and Mihawk. The world assumed Buggy was their leader because of his high-profile past and charismatic reputation, though in reality, he's by far the weakest of the 3. Buggy has a talent for failing upward, repeatedly finding himself in positions of power despite his cowardice and relative weakness. It's one of the series' ongoing jokes.
Haki is the spiritual energy that flows through all living things in the One Piece world. Most people never awaken their Haki, living their entire lives unaware it exists. But those who do awaken it gain abilities that can rival even devil fruit powers. There are 3 types of Haki. Observation Haki allows the user to sense the presence and intentions of others, predict attacks, and in advanced forms, even see brief moments into the future. Armament Haki creates invisible armor around the user's body or weapons, dramatically increasing offensive and defensive capabilities. It can also harm devil fruit users who would normally be intangible. Conqueror's Haki is the rarest type, possessed by only 1 in several million people. It allows the user to impose their will on others, knocking out those with weak spirits. Advanced Conqueror's Haki can be infused into attacks, dramatically multiplying their power. The introduction of Haki to the series happened gradually. Shanks first used it in Chapter 1 when he scared away the Sea King attacking Luffy, though it wasn't named or explained at the time. During the Amazon Lily arc, the concept was properly introduced. The women of Amazon Lily, a nation of female warriors, all use basic Haki in their daily lives. They coat their arrows with armament Haki to give them penetrating power. This was when readers first saw the black coloration that represents hardened armament Haki in the manga. Luffy didn't learn Haki until the time skip, when Silver's Rayleigh, the former first mate of Goldie Roger, trained him for 2 years on a deserted island. The time skip itself was a bold narrative choice. After the devastating events at Marineford, where Luffy's brother Ace was killed and Luffy himself nearly died, the Straw Hat crew was separated by Bartholomew Kuma. Each member was sent to a different island. They spent 2 years training individually before reuniting at Sabadoti Archipelago. When they came back together, they were stronger, more confident, and ready for the new world. The time skip allowed Oda to age his characters slightly and develop their abilities off-screen, avoiding the need to show years of training in real time. Bartholomew Kuma's actions during their separation seemed cruel at the time, but were later revealed to be merciful. Kuma was once a revolutionary working alongside Luffy's father Dragon. He became a warlord to infiltrate the world government. But he was also a test subject for Dr. Vegapunk's Pacifista program, gradually having his body replaced with cybernetic parts. By the time he separated the Straw Hats, Kuma had almost no free will left. Yet he used his remaining consciousness to send each crew member to a location perfect for their growth. He sent Luffy to Amazon Lily, where he could meet Hancock and eventually reach Marineford. He sent Sanji to Mihawk's Island, where the world's greatest swordsman could train him. He sent Sanji to an island of Okama, where he would be forced to run for his life, building his speed and endurance. Each placement was deliberate and caring. The Pacifistas are human weapons created by Dr. Vegapunk, the world's greatest scientist. They're cyborgs modeled after Kuma, capable of shooting laser beams from their mouths and possessing durability far beyond normal humans. Later versions, called Seraphim, are even more advanced, combining Lunarian traits with warlord DNA and artificial devil fruits. The Lunarians were a race that once lived atop the Red Line and were considered gods. They could produce fire from their bodies and had incredible resilience. King, one of Kaido's top fighters, was the last known pure Lunarian. The Seraphim children, created from his genetic material combined with others, represent the peak of Vegapunk's research. Dr. Vegapunk himself is not a single person, but 7. The original Vegapunk split his brain into 6 satellites, each representing different aspects of his personality. There's Shaka, representing good, Lilith, representing evil, Edison, representing thought, Pythagoras, representing wisdom, Atlas, representing violence, and York, representing greed. York eventually betrayed the others, selling information to the world government in exchange for becoming a celestial dragon. Her betrayal led to the siege of Egghead Island, where Vegapunk's main body was killed. Before dying, however, Vegapunk recorded a message that broadcast worldwide, revealing truths about the Void Century and the sinking of the world. The Void Century is the 100-year period from 800 to 900 years before the current story. Almost no records from that time exist. The world government has forbidden all research into it, claiming that knowledge of that era is too dangerous. Anyone who attempts to study it is branded a criminal and executed.
The only remaining records are the poneglyphs, massive, indestructible blocks of stone inscribed with ancient text. The Kozuki clan of Wano created these poneglyphs near the end of the Void Century to preserve the true history of the world. Only a few people can read the ancient language. Nico Robin, the last survivor of Ohara's scholars, members of the Three-Eyed Tribe, and those who can hear the voice of all things. The voice of all things is a rare ability that allows someone to hear the feelings and thoughts of living creatures and even inanimate objects. Luffy possesses this ability to some degree, able to hear Sea Kings and Zunesha, the enormous elephant that carries the civilization of Zou on its back. Gol D. Roger had it as well. Kozuki Oden, the daimyo of Kuri in Wano, accompanied Roger on his final voyage because Roger needed someone who could read the poneglyphs. Together, they reached Laugh-Tale, the final island where the One Piece treasure is hidden. When they arrived, Roger and his crew laughed. They laughed so hard that Roger named the island Laugh-Tale, combining laugh with tale. Whatever they found there was both joyous and tragic, something that made them realize they had arrived too early. Roger said they should have been born 20 years later. Let your breathing slow. Feel the gentle rhythm of these facts washing over you like waves. There is so much more to discover, but for now, let these fragments of the world settle into your mind. The straw hats sail onward. The seas stretch endlessly, and somewhere in the distance, on an island no map can show, the One Piece waits. Oda's early chapters were not immediate successes in the rankings. Shonen Jump operates on a reader survey system where fans mail in votes for their favorite series each week. These rankings determine which manga get prominent placement and which face cancellation. One Piece started modestly, hovering in the middle of the pack. Editors were patient, seeing potential in Oda's world-building and character work, but there was pressure. If the series didn't gain traction, it would be cut short like so many before it. The turning point came during the Arlong Park arc. This was the first time One Piece revealed its emotional depth. Nami had been traveling with the crew but refused to officially join, finally broke down and asked Luffy for help. Her village had been suffering under the fishman pirate Arlong for years. Nami had been working as Arlong's cartographer, mapping the seas for him while secretly saving money to buy her village's freedom. When Arlong betrayed their agreement and stole all her savings, Nami had nowhere left to turn. She stabbed at her Arlong pirate's tattoo over and over, trying to remove the mark from her shoulder, crying that she couldn't take it anymore. Luffy placed his straw hat on her head and told her simply that of course he would help. Then he walked toward Arlong Park with Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp to destroy everything Arlong had built. The fight at Arlong Park established the template that One Piece would follow for years. Each arc would build toward a confrontation where Luffy and his crew would face seemingly impossible odds to help someone in need. The battles were physical but also emotional. When Luffy finally defeated Arlong by smashing through the room where Nami had been imprisoned, forcing her to draw maps against her will, he wasn't just winning a fight, he was destroying the symbol of her suffering. After that arc, reader surveys showed One Piece climbing rapidly in popularity. Something had clicked. Oda has mentioned in interviews that he cries while writing emotional scenes. He becomes so invested in his characters that their pain becomes real to him. This emotional honesty transfers to the page. Readers could feel the weight of Nami's suffering and the catharsis of her liberation. One Piece was no longer just an adventure story, it was something that could make you feel deeply. After the East Blue Saga concluded,
the Straw Hats entered the Grand Line through Reverse Mountain, an upward-flowing waterfall where 4 seas converge before leading down into paradise. Their first island was Whiskey Peak, a town that appeared welcoming but was actually filled with bounty hunters working for Baroque Works, a secret criminal organization. This arc introduced the concept of larger conspiracies operating beneath the surface of the story. Baroque Works was attempting to take over the kingdom of Alabasta, a desert nation suffering from a drought orchestrated by the organization's leader. That leader was revealed to be Crocodile, one of the 7 warlords of the sea. He possessed the sand fruit, allowing him to transform into sand and manipulate deserts. His plan was to use an ancient weapon called Pluton to gain military power, then overthrow the world government itself. Crocodile was the first truly threatening villain in the series. Unlike the pirates in the East Blue, he was patient, intelligent, and willing to sacrifice thousands of lives for his ambitions.
Poseidon is not a weapon, but a person. Specifically, the mermaid princess Shirahoshi, who can command all sea kings. Uranus has been mentioned but not fully explained, though recent chapters suggest it might be related to the floating island of Marijawas or the mother flame that Vegapunk created. These weapons represent the pinnacle of ancient technology and power. Their very existence is considered forbidden knowledge by the world government. During the Alabasta arc, the crew gained their 4th member from the East Blue, though technically Tony Chopper joined during the Drum Island arc just before Alabasta. Chopper is a reindeer who ate the human fruit, giving him intelligence and the ability to transform into human forms. He was rejected by both reindeer and humans because of his hybrid nature, until he met Dr. Hyreluk, a quack doctor with an enormous heart. Hyreluk taught Chopper that there's no such thing as an impossible disease, only doctors who give up searching for cures. When Hyreluk died, Chopper inherited his will. He joined the Straw Hats to become a doctor who could cure any illness so that no one else would have to die like Hyreluk did. Chopper's backstory follows a pattern that Oda uses throughout the series. Nearly every Straw Hat crew member has experienced profound loss. Luffy lost his brother Ace. Zoro lost his childhood friend and rival Kuina. Nami lost her adoptive mother Belmir. Usopp lost his mother to illness while his father sailed away to be a pirate. Sanji lost his mother figure Zeph's leg, sacrificed to save his life. Chopper lost Hyreluk. Robin lost her entire homeland. Frankie lost his mentor Tom. Brook lost his entire crew. Each tragedy shaped them, gave them their dream, and ultimately led them to join Luffy. Oda believes that dreams are born from pain, from the desire to prevent that pain from happening again. After Alabasta, the Straw Hats encountered Nico Robin, the former vice president of Baroque Works. She possessed the flower fruit, allowing her to sprout copies of her body parts anywhere within her line of sight. This made her invaluable for both combat and exploration. But her real value was her knowledge. Robin was the only person in the world who could read poneglyphs, making her the most wanted archaeologist alive. She forced her way onto the Sunny at first, but gradually became a true member of the crew. Robin's past is one of the darkest in the series. She came from Ohara, an island of scholars dedicated to studying history. The world government discovered that Ohara's researchers were investigating the Void Century and ordered a Buster Call, a military operation where multiple warships bombard an island until nothing remains. Robin was only 8 years old when Ohara was destroyed. She watched her mother die along with every other scholar she knew. For 20 years afterward, she wandered alone,
betraying one group after another to survive, never trusting anyone. She believed she had no right to exist. It wasn't until the Enies Lobby arc that she finally accepted the Straw Hats as her family. Enies Lobby was a judicial island where the world government held prisoners before sending them through the gates of justice to Impeldown or Marineford. When the government tried to capture Robin and silence her knowledge forever, Luffy declared war on the entire world government by having Usopp shoot down their flag. It was an insane gesture, one that should have been suicidal, but it communicated to Robin that her crew would go to any length to save her.
During the battle, she finally screamed that she wanted to live. After so many years of believing she should die, of being told her existence was a sin, she chose life. The Straw Hats' ship at the time was the Going Merry, a small caravel given to them by Kaya, a friend of Usopp's from his home village. The Merry carried them from the East Blue through countless battles in the Grand Line. But ships have limits. The damage accumulated, especially after falling from Skypiea, an island in the clouds 10,000 meters above the sea. By the time they reached Water 7, a city of shipwrights, the Merry was beyond repair. The keel was broken, a fatal injury for any vessel. The death of the Going Merry is one of the most emotional moments in the entire series. Oda gave the ship a soul, manifested as a small spirit that appeared during their escape from Enies Lobby. The Merry sailed one last time to rescue the crew, arriving when all hope seemed lost. Then, after bringing them to safety, the ship apologized for not being able to carry them further. Luffy and the crew said goodbye while the Merry burned, giving it a Viking funeral. Even viewers and readers who didn't expect to cry over a ship found themselves weeping. The concept of objects gaining souls comes from the idea of tsukumogami in Japanese folklore, where items that are loved and used for many years develop spirits. Oda applied this idea to the Merry, showing that bonds can form with anything if enough care and memory is invested. The Merry wasn't just wood and nails. It was a companion that had heard their laughter and felt their tears. In Water 7, the crew recruited 2 new members. The first was Frankie, a cyborg shipwright who rebuilt his own body after being hit by a sea train. He became their shipwright and built them a new vessel, the Thousand Sunny, using wood from the treasure tree Adam. The same type of tree was used to build Gold D. Rogers' ship, Oro Jackson. Frankie's dream was to build a ship that could sail to the end of the world and to see that ship accomplish the journey. The Sunny was his masterpiece. The second recruit from Water 7 was not actually from Water 7 at all. Brook, a skeleton musician, joined the crew after the Thriller Bark arc. Brook had died 50 years earlier, but was revived by the Revive fruit, which gave him a second life. Unfortunately, his soul got lost in the fog of the Florian Triangle while searching for his body, and by the time he found it, only bones remained. He spent decades alone on a ghost ship, playing music for an audience of no one, slowly going mad from isolation. His dream was to reunite with Laboon, a whale who waited for him at the entrance to the Grand Line. Brook and his former crew, the Rumbar Pirates, had promised Laboon they would return after sailing around the world. 50 years later, Brook was the only one left to keep that promise. Brook's devil fruit had a second power that awakened later. He could separate his soul from his body and travel as a ghost, passing through walls and possessing others. This ability proved useful for scouting and infiltration. But more than his powers, Brook brought music back to the crew. Luffy had wanted a musician from the very beginning, even before he wanted a cook or a doctor. Music represents joy,
And for Luffy, a pirate crew without music isn't really a crew at all. The voice actors in the One Piece anime have been with the series for over 2 decades. Mayumi Tanaka voices Luffy with an energetic tone that perfectly captures his reckless optimism. Kazuya Nakai brings a grounded intensity to Zoro. Okemio Kamura gives Nami both her greedy edge and her vulnerable moments. Kappei Yamaguchi plays Usopp with comedic timing that can shift to genuine courage when needed. Hiroaki Harada voices Sanji with a mixture of suaveness and passion. Ikue Otani, the same actress who voices Pikachu in Pokemon, gives Chopper his innocent childlike quality. Yuriko Yamaguchi brings calm intelligence to Robin. Kazuki Yao gives Frankie his boisterous energy. And Cho voices Brook with theatrical flair.
These actors have grown alongside their characters, aging in real time as the story unfolds. The anime adaptation by Toei Animation began in October 1999, just 2 years after the manga started. The early episodes followed the manga closely, adapting chapters at a reasonable pace. But as the years went on and the anime caught up to the manga, Toei had to slow down. One Piece anime episodes now typically adapt less than 1 manga chapter per episode, sometimes as little as half a chapter. This creates pacing issues, with scenes stretched through reaction shots and extended pauses. Longtime fans often debate whether the anime or manga is the better experience. The manga has Oda's precise pacing and panel composition. The anime has voice acting, music by Kohei Tanaka and Shiro Hamaguchi, and color. Both have value. One Piece has aired over 1,100 episodes as of late 2024, making it one of the longest-running animated series in history. It has survived multiple time-slot changes, competition from other series, and shifts in animation style. Early episodes used a softer, rounder art style. Modern episodes are more angular and polished, with better production values, but also more digital effects. The voice of the series has remained consistent even as the visuals evolved. One Piece has inspired numerous films, most produced by Toei Animation. The early films were side stories with little connection to the main plot. But recent films, particularly One Piece Film Z, One Piece Film Gold, and One Piece Stampede, received more involvement from Oda himself. He provided character designs and story outlines, ensuring they felt more connected to the manga's world. The most recent theatrical release as of this writing is One Piece Film Red, focusing on Uta, a singer revealed to be Shanks' adopted daughter. The film explored themes of escapism and the dangers of retreating from reality into fantasy, with Uta trying to trap the entire world in a dream where no one could suffer. Film Red became one of the highest-grossing anime films of all time, competing with entries from the Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen franchises. Part of its success came from the music, composed and performed by Ado, a popular Japanese singer. Her songs for the film topped charts and introduced One Piece to audiences who might not have engaged with the series otherwise. Music has always been important to One Piece, from the opening themes by artists like Hiroshi Kitadani to the emotional insert songs during key scenes. Kitadani's We Are is the first and most iconic opening theme. It played during the early episodes and has been brought back multiple times for special occasions. The lyrics are simple and optimistic, encouraging listeners to chase their dreams with their friends. Gather up all of the crew, it's time to ship out Binks's brew. Wait, no, that's a different song. Let me start again. We Are invites everyone to sail together toward their dreams, to believe that if they work as a team, they can overcome anything. It's the thesis of One Piece in musical form. Binks's Brew, the song I accidentally referenced, is an in-universe pirate anthem. Brook and his former crew used to sing it together.
The lyrics speak of sailing through storms and sharing sake under the moon, accepting that pirates live short lives but make them meaningful. When Brooke sang it at Thriller Bark, it was the first time he'd performed the song for an audience in 50 years. The moment was both joyful and heartbreaking, a reminder of everyone he'd lost. Music in the One Piece world has actual power. Certain characters can manipulate emotions or even reality through song. Uta's devil fruit allowed her to trap people in a dream world through her singing. Scratchman Appu, one of the worst generation pirates, could turn his body into instruments and create sound-based attacks. Even without supernatural powers, music serves as a form of connection. It's how people share feelings that words alone cannot express. The world of One Piece is not governed by a single unified power, but by a delicate balance between forces that constantly push against each other. The world government claims authority over most nations, collecting taxes and enforcing laws through their marine forces. But vast stretches of ocean remain outside their control, ruled by pirate crews or left entirely lawless. This balance has existed for centuries, maintained through compromise and occasional displays of overwhelming force. The Marines serve as the military arm of the world government.
Their headquarters, Marineford, was once located in Paradise, the first half of the Grand Line. After the war that claimed Whitebeard's life, Fleet Admiral Sengoku stepped down, and the headquarters relocated to the New World. This shift represented a more aggressive stance toward piracy, bringing the full might of Marine forces directly into the most dangerous waters. The new Fleet Admiral, Sakazuki, known by his alias Akainu, believes in absolute justice. To him, even the possibility that a criminal might escape justifies killing innocent people who might be harboring them. This philosophy makes him ruthless but effective. Before Akainu became Fleet Admiral, the position was held by Sengoku the Buddha. Sengoku possessed a mythical zone devil fruit that allowed him to transform into a giant golden Buddha, granting him immense physical power and shockwave attacks. But his true strength lay in tactical thinking. He orchestrated the war at Marineford by predicting Whitebeard's movements and preparing countermeasures. Despite his strategic brilliance, Sengoku carried regrets. He failed to execute Goldie Roger when he had the chance, allowing Roger to spark the great age of pirates with his final words. He also struggled with the corruption within the world government, knowing that absolute justice often conflicted with human compassion. The rank structure within the Marines follows a clear hierarchy. At the bottom are the enlisted sailors, then petty officers, then commissioned officers starting at ensign and lieutenant. Above them are commanders, captains, and commodores. The next tier is rear admiral, then vice admiral. Only 3 positions exist above vice admiral, the 3 admirals, and above them sits the fleet admiral, who commands the entire organization. Each admiral takes a color-based alias. Akainu was Red Dog, Aokiji was Blue Pheasant, Kizaru is Yellow Monkey, Fujitora is Purple Tiger, Ryokugyu is Green Bull. These aliases reference their personalities or abilities. Aokiji, whose real name is Kuzan, possessed the ice fruit before the series began. He could freeze oceans solid and create ice constructs at will. His sense of justice was described as lazy justice, meaning he preferred to see the complexity in situations rather than applying rigid rules. This put him at odds with Akainu's absolute justice. When Sengoku resigned, both Kuzan and Sakazuki were candidates for Fleet Admiral. The decision came down to a duel on Punk Hazard, an island used for chemical weapons research. They fought for 10 days straight, reshaping the island's climate. One half became a frozen wasteland,
while the other turned into a sea of fire. Sakazuki won, and Kuzan left the Marines entirely, later joining the Blackbeard pirates, for reasons still not fully explained. Kizaru, or Borsalino, possesses the glint-glint fruit, a logia type that transforms him into light. He can move at light speed, fire laser beams, and create light constructs shaped like weapons. His unclear justice means he follows orders from superiors without questioning them, carrying out missions efficiently but without personal conviction. During the Egghead Island arc, Kizaru was ordered to kill his old friend Dr. Vegapunk. He succeeded, though the act clearly pained him. This highlighted the tragedy of soldiers who follow orders even when those orders betray their personal feelings.
Fujitora, whose real name is Isho, joined the Marines through a world military draft that occurred after Kuzan's departure. He possesses a devil fruit that allows him to manipulate gravity, calling down meteors from space or increasing the weight of opponents until they collapse. He blinded himself intentionally years ago because he saw too much filth in the world and no longer wanted to witness it. His brand of justice is humane justice, focused on protecting civilians even if it means defying direct orders from the world government. He openly advocates for abolishing the warlord system, believing that alliances with pirates compromise the Marines' moral authority. Ryokugyu, or Aramaki, was recruited during the same draft as Fujitora. His devil fruit allows him to transform into plant matter, absorbing nutrients from others to sustain himself. He claims he hasn't eaten in years, surviving entirely through his powers. His justice is unclear, but he displays extreme loyalty to the celestial dragons and shows contempt for nations that refuse to join the world government. During his appearance in Wano, he attempted to capture Luffy, but was forced to retreat when Shanks projected his conqueror's Haki from miles away, demonstrating the immense gap between admiral-level fighters and emperors. Beneath the admirals serve the vice admirals, a rank that includes some of the series' most memorable Marine officers. Monkey D. Garp, Luffy's grandfather, is the most famous. Despite being offered promotion to admiral multiple times, Garp always refused. Becoming an admiral would place him directly under the Celestial Dragon's command, and Garp despises them. He remains a vice admiral, which gives him freedom to operate with minimal oversight. His strength rivals that of any admiral. In his prime, he fought evenly with Gol D. Roger multiple times and was instrumental in capturing or defeating numerous legendary pirates. His epithet, Garp the Fist, comes from his preference for pure physical combat. He never ate a devil fruit, relying entirely on Haki and raw power. Garp trained many Marines personally, including current admirals Kuzan and Sakazuki. His teaching philosophy emphasized strength through adversity. He would throw young trainees into forests filled with dangerous beasts or drop them into canyons, forcing them to survive and grow stronger. This same philosophy applied to his family. Garp threw young Luffy into jungles, left him alone in the wilderness at night, and tied him to balloons that carried him into the sky. He intended to train Luffy as a Marine, but his methods backfired spectacularly. Luffy grew strong, but developed a love for freedom and adventure that made him the opposite of what Garp hoped. Another notable vice admiral is Smoker, who has pursued Luffy since their first meeting in Logtown. Smoker possesses the smoke fruit, allowing him to transform into smoke and trap opponents. He's pragmatic, willing to work with pirates if it serves a greater good. His partnership with Tashigi, a swordswoman who shares his sense of justice, adds emotional depth to his character.
Tashigi resembles Zoro's deceased friend Kuina, a fact that creates tension whenever they meet. She collects famous swords and believes they should be used to protect people rather than harm them. The relationship between the Marines and the world government is complicated. Marines swear loyalty to the government, but many officers struggle with the corruption they witness. The celestial dragons can order admirals around like servants. The five elders manipulate information and assassinate innocent people to maintain order. Some Marines, like Fujitora and Smoker, openly question these practices. Others, like Akainu, believe that maintaining the current system, however flawed, is necessary to prevent total chaos. This moral complexity makes the Marines more than simple villains. They're individuals trying to navigate an unjust system while protecting people. The Revolutionary Army exists as a direct counterforce to the world government. Led by Monkey D. Dragon, Luffy's father, the revolutionaries seek to overthrow the celestial dragons and dismantle the corrupt system they've built. Unlike pirates, who pursue personal freedom, revolutionaries fight for systemic change. They operate through cells spread across the world, inciting rebellions and supporting oppressed nations. Dragon himself is considered the world's worst criminal, more dangerous than any pirate because he threatens the government's very foundation. Dragon's face is marked by a distinctive tattoo that covers the left side. His past remains largely mysterious. He was raised by Garp, but rejected the Marines entirely. When or why he formed the Revolutionary Army hasn't been fully revealed. His devil fruit, if he has one, remains unknown, though he appears to control wind during his few brief appearances. At Lobetown, he saved Luffy from execution without revealing their relationship. Later, he expressed pride in his son's accomplishments while acknowledging they walk different paths. The Revolutionary Army's second-in-command is Sabo, who holds the title of Chief of Staff. Sabo is Luffy's adopted brother, though Luffy believed him dead for years. As children, Luffy, Ace, and Sabo became sworn brothers, pledging to one day sail as pirates. But Sabo's noble parents forced him to return to high society. When he tried to escape by sailing out alone, a celestial dragon shot his ship for sport. Sabo survived, but lost his memories. Dragon found him and recruited him into the Revolutionary Army. Sabo's memories returned only after Ace's death, when news of his brother's execution reached him. He carries tremendous guilt for not being there when Ace needed him. After Ace died, his flame fruit reincarnated somewhere in the world, as devil fruits do when their user perishes. The fruit reappeared in Dressrosa, where Don Quixote do Flamingo used it as bait in a tournament. Sabo entered the tournament in disguise and won, claiming the fruit to honor his brother's memory. Now he wields Ace's flames, carrying on his legacy while fighting for the revolutionary cause. The emotional weight of inheriting his dead brother's power shapes everything Sabo does. The Revolutionary Army includes other powerful commanders. Karasu controls crows and can transform into them. Morley is a giant with the push-push fruit, allowing him to manipulate the ground as if it were clay.
Lindbergh uses advanced technology to create weapons. Bello Betty can inspire people to fight beyond their normal limits through her pump fruit. Each commander oversees operations in a different part of the world, coordinating rebellions and gathering intelligence. Their ultimate goal is to attack Mary Joas during the Reverie,
a conference where world leaders gather once every 4 years. The reverie is where the world government's true nature reveals itself. 50 kings gather to discuss global policy, but their votes are largely performative. Real power lies with the 5 elders, 5 elderly men who have held their positions for at least decades, possibly centuries. They dress in suits reminiscent of different historical periods and carry themselves with absolute authority. Their names were only recently revealed: Saint J. Garcia Saturn, Saint Marcus Mars, Saint Topman Warcury, Saint Ethan Baron V. Nujuro, and Saint Shepherd Jew Peter. Each possesses a mythical Zoan devil fruit based on yokai from Japanese mythology, transforming into monstrous forms with devastating power. Above even the 5 elders sits Im, a figure whose existence is one of the world government's deepest secrets. Im lives in the empty throne room in Mary Gewas, a throne that symbolically belongs to no one, representing equality among the founding families. But Im sits on it in secret, ruling the world from shadows. Their gender and age are unknown. They appear young but have existed for at least 800 years, possibly since the Void Century. Im possesses the power to erase islands from existence using the ancient weapon Uranus or something similar. When they crossed out pictures of Luffy, Blackbeard, Shirahoshi, and Vivi, it signaled these individuals as threats to the world order. The existence of Im means the world government's founding principle is a lie. The 20 royal families claimed they formed a democracy of equals, but one of them placed themselves above all others, ruling as a hidden monarch while everyone else believed in shared power. This deception runs so deep that even most celestial dragons don't know Im exists. Only the 5 elders directly serve them. The celestial dragons, officially called the World Nobles, are descendants of the 19 families who moved to Miri Joas after founding the world government. One family, the Nefertari, refused to relocate, choosing to remain in Alabasta. The celestial dragons live in luxury, sustained by taxes collected from member nations. They wear spacesuits because they refuse to breathe the same air as commoners. They can take anyone as a slave, marked with the hoof of the soaring dragon, a symbol burned into flesh. Any crime they commit is ignored. Anyone who harms them brings down an admiral within hours. This system of absolute privilege has created some of the most despicable characters in the series. Saint Charlos attempted to buy Cammy, a mermaid friend of the Straw Hats, as a pet. When Luffy punched him, the impact rippled through the story, marking Luffy as someone willing to strike at the world's untouchable class. Other celestial dragons are more complex. Saint Mosjard, after being saved by Queen Otohime of Fishman Island, renounced his cruel ways and worked to protect fishmen and merfolk from other nobles. Saint Don Quixote Homing voluntarily gave up his status, hoping to live as a normal human. His decision led to disaster when former slaves captured and tortured his family in revenge for past atrocities. Homing's sons, Doflamingo and Rosentine, took opposite paths in response to this trauma.
Don Quixote do Flamingo became one of the series' most compelling antagonists. After his family lost their status, he awakened conquerors Haki and killed his father, hoping to return to marry G-Wise. The other celestial dragons rejected him, declaring his family's abandonment permanent. Furious, Doflamingo decided to destroy the world that rejected him. He became a pirate, then a warlord, then the underground broker Joker, then the king of Dressrosa through a coup. He possessed the string fruit, allowing him to create and manipulate strings so thin they could slice through stone. His strings could also control people like puppets, a visual metaphor for how he manipulated everyone around him. Doflamingo's younger brother, Rocinante, called Corazon, went the opposite direction. He became a marine commander and infiltrated his brother's crew as a spy. When he met young Trafalgar Law, a boy suffering from terminal amber-lead syndrome, Rocinante abandoned his mission to find a cure. He traveled from hospital to hospital, enduring violence and rejection, all to save one dying child. Eventually, he stole the op fruit, a devil fruit capable of performing miraculous medical procedures, and gave it to Law. This act granted Law the power to cure himself, but cost Rocinante his life when Doflamingo discovered the betrayal. The op fruit carries special significance. Its ultimate technique, the perennial youth operation, can grant immortality to another person at the cost of the user's life. The world government values this ability so highly, they offered 5 billion berries for the fruit. Im's agelessness might come from a previous op user performing this surgery. Law, who now possesses the fruit, refuses to use the technique for anyone. His medical skills are extraordinary, capable of separating souls from bodies, removing diseases, and even swapping personalities between different people. Law himself has become one of Luffy's closest allies, despite their very different approaches to piracy. Law plans everything meticulously, forming strategies that account for dozens of variables. Luffy acts on instinct, trusting his crew to adapt. This contrast creates friction, but also effectiveness. Law formed an alliance with Luffy to take down Kaido, though his hidden goal was to learn the truth about the Will of D, a mysterious initial shared by several key figures, including himself. The Will of D appears in the names of many significant characters: Monkey D. Luffy, Gaul D. Roger, Portgoss D. Ace, Monkey D. Garp, Monkey D. Dragon, Trafalgar D. Law, Marshall D. Teach, Rox D. Zebek.
The D is called the natural enemy of the gods, referring to the celestial dragons. Those who carry it often oppose the world government, though not always consciously. The meaning of D hasn't been fully explained, but it connects to the Void Century and the ancient kingdom that once opposed the 20 allied nations. That ancient kingdom is mentioned only once by name in the series, spoken by Professor Clover of Ohara moments before his death. The name was silenced by the Five Elders' assassination, but the kingdom's existence is confirmed. It possessed advanced technology and ideals that threatened the Alliance's power. The kingdom's downfall marked the start of the world government, and its legacy was erased so thoroughly that even investigating it became a capital crime. The Poneglyphs exist to preserve its story against this erasure. There are 30 Poneglyphs in total, scattered across the world. 26 are historical Poneglyphs, containing information about the Void Century. 5 are road Poneglyphs, red stones that each reveal coordinates. When all 4 road Poneglyphs are found and their coordinates plotted, the intersection marks the location of Laugh Tale, the final island. Roger's crew collected all four and reached the island, making them the first to complete the Grand Line circuit in centuries. Luffy's crew has found 3 of the 4 so far. The location of the 4th remains unknown even to fans of the series. Close your eyes and feel the weight of history pressing down through centuries. Empires rise and fall. Secrets bury themselves beneath layers of time. But the sea remembers, the stones remember, and somewhere in the dark water, truth waits patiently to surface. Let yourself drift now, carried by currents older than any kingdom. The Grand Line's islands each possess their own unique climates and cultures, shaped by isolation and the dangers of travel between them. Some islands experience eternal winter, snow falling endlessly over frozen landscapes. Others burn under constant volcanic activity, their air thick with ash and sulfur. A few exist in perpetual spring, their seasons frozen at the perfect temperature for flowers to bloom. This variety comes from the unstable magnetic fields that make navigation so treacherous. Each island develops independently, creating pockets of civilization that evolve in strange directions without outside influence. Drum Island, where Chopper joined the crew, is locked in permanent winter. The island was once ruled by Wapol, a tyrant who ate the munch-munch fruit, allowing him to consume anything and either transform it into it or combine it with his body. Wapol exiled all the doctors on Drum Island except for his personal medical staff, forcing citizens to beg him for treatment. When pirates attacked, Wapol and his doctors fled, abandoning everyone. The kingdom fell into despair until Dr. Hiraluk and later Dr. Koreha worked to heal the wounded. Luffy's defeat of Wapol allowed the island to rebuild under new leadership. The country was renamed Sakura Kingdom, after the cherry blossoms that Hiraluk dreamed of bringing to the frozen land. Alabasta stretches across a vast desert, its cities built around oases and river systems. The kingdom had existed peacefully for centuries under the Nefertari royal family, one of the 20 families who founded the world government but chose not to ascend to marry Geos. Princess Nefertari Vivi, a young woman with blue hair and a deep love for her people, traveled undercover to infiltrate Baroque works when she discovered the organization was destabilizing her nation. She joined the Straw Hats temporarily, and though she ultimately chose to remain with her kingdom rather than continue as a pirate, Luffy and his crew still consider her a member. Her choice represented the burden of responsibility, the sacrifice of personal dreams for the sake of others who depend on you. Skypiea floats 10,000 meters above the ocean, resting on clouds solidified by a unique atmospheric phenomenon. The island was once part of the Blue Sea, as the surface world is called there, but was blown into the sky by a massive upward current 400 years before the main story. The people of Skypiea have small wings on their backs, though these wings cannot actually grant flight. They are vestigial, decorative markers of heritage rather than functional limbs. Skypiea's culture revolves around the worship of their god, a title held by whoever possesses the most power. When the Straw Hats arrived, the god was Enel, a wielder of the Rumble fruit that transformed him into living lightning. Enel believed himself truly divine. His Logia powers made him nearly untouchable, and his observation Haki was so advanced he could hear conversations across the entire island. He combined these abilities with his devil fruit to create a surveillance network that monitored every citizen. Anyone who spoke against him was struck by lightning. His goal was to destroy Skypiea and fly to the moon in a ship powered by electrical energy, believing the moon to be the true domain of gods. Luffy defeated him not through superior strength, but through immunity. Rubber doesn't conduct electricity, making Luffy one of the few people in the world who could fight Enel without being instantly vaporized. After his defeat, Enel did reach the moon. Cover stories in the manga. Short sequential illustrations that run on title pages showed his journey. The moon was not empty. Ancient cities built by advanced civilizations lay dormant there, and an army of mechanical soldiers waited in underground chambers. Enel reactivated them using his electricity and declared himself their ruler. These moon cities connected to the ancient kingdom that existed during the Void Century, suggesting that advanced technology once allowed travel between worlds. Whether Enel will return to the main story remains unknown, but his presence on the moon hints at larger cosmological mysteries. Water 7 is a city built on water, where streets are canals and transportation happens by small boats called bowls. The city rises in tiers, with the wealthiest citizens living at the highest levels to avoid the annual Aqua Laguna, a massive tidal wave that threatens to submerge everything. Water 7 is famous for its shipwrights, craftspeople who have passed down the art of shipbuilding for generations. The most legendary shipwright was Tom, a fishman who built Gold D. Rogers' ship. Tom was executed by the world government for this crime, but not before teaching his apprentices, Frankie and Iceberg, everything he knew. Iceberg became the mayor of Water 7 and head of the Galley Law Company, the largest shipbuilding firm in the city. He kept the blueprints for Pluton, the ancient weapon, hidden for years. The blueprints had been passed down through generations of shipwrights as insurance. If the original Pluton ever resurfaced, the blueprints would allow someone to build a counterweapon. Iceberg eventually entrusted them to Frankie, who memorized them before burning the physical copies. This ensured the world government could never force him to build the weapon, even under torture. Thriller Bark was not an island, but a massive ship designed to look like one, large enough to carry an entire forest, mansion, and graveyard. It was controlled by Gecko Moria, one of the 7 warlords. Moria possessed the Shadow fruit, allowing him to steal shadows from living people and implant them into corpses, creating zombie servants. A person without a shadow cannot survive in sunlight. The sun's rays would disintegrate them. Moria's army of zombies included warriors whose shadows came from powerful pirates, giving the corpses both combat ability and personality fragments from their shadow's original owner. Moria's reliance on zombies came from trauma. Years ago, he challenged Kaido in Wano and lost, his entire crew. The pain of watching his companions die broke something inside him. He decided that if he only used zombies as subordinates, he would never have to experience loss again. The dead cannot die twice. But his strategy had a fatal flaw. The zombies lacked the will and adaptability of living fighters. When Luffy defeated Moria, the lesson was clear. Strength built on other sacrifice, without personal risk or growth, is hollow. True power comes from the bonds you forge with people who choose to stand beside you. Subodi Archipelago serves as the final stop before Fishman Island and the entrance to the New World. The archipelago consists of 79 giant mangrove trees called Yarukimon mangroves. Their roots so massive they form islands. Bubbles float endlessly from the tree's resin, creating a dreamlike atmosphere. Subodi is divided into zones, each with different functions.
Some areas house amusement parks and shopping districts. Others are lawless zones controlled by pirates and human traffickers. The archipelago's proximity to marine headquarters and the home of the celestial dragons creates a strange environment where extreme wealth and extreme violence exist side by side. At Sabaody, the Straw Hats first encountered other members of the Worst Generation, a term for 11 rookie pirates and their accomplice Blackbeard, who arrive at the archipelago around the same time, each with bounties exceeding 100 million berries. These pirates included Trafalgar Law, Eustace Kidd, Basil Hawkins, X Drake, Scratchman Apu, Capone Beige, Jewelry Bonnie, Uruge, and Killer. Each captain represented different philosophies of piracy. Kidd was brutal and violent, willing to kill anyone who mocked his dreams. Law was calculating, forming alliances only when they served his plans.
Bonnie's motivations remained mysterious, though she clearly harbored hatred for the world government. Hawkins relied on fortune-telling cards to guide his decisions, believing in fate. The Worst Generation's arrival marked a shift in the story's scale. Luffy was no longer the only rookie shaking the world. Other powerful voices were rising, each with their own ambitions and methods. Some would become allies, others would become rivals or enemies. Their presence reinforced the idea that Luffy's generation was special, that something was changing in the world's balance. At Sabaody, the Straw Hats made a critical mistake. They attacked a celestial dragon, drawing the wrath of Admiral Kizaru and the pacifistas. The crew was scattered by Bartholomew Kuma before they could be captured or killed. This moment marked the end of the first half of their journey. They had grown strong enough to handle Paradise, but the new world required something more. The 2-year separation allowed them to train individually and develop the skills they would need to survive. Luffy's training took place on Rusukaina, an island in the Calm Belt filled with dangerous beasts. Silver's Rayleigh, the former first mate of the Pirate King, taught him the basics of Haki. Rayleigh explained that Haki is willpower made manifest, the spiritual energy that flows through all living beings. Most people never awaken it, but those who do gain access to power that can rival even the strongest devil fruits. Rayleigh's lessons were harsh. He would fight Luffy repeatedly, forcing the boy to adapt or be beaten unconscious. Over time, Luffy learned to sense attacks before they landed, to harden his body against strikes, and to project his will outward to intimidate weaker opponents. Zoro trained with Dracule Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman. Mihawk lives alone on a gloomy island, spending his days cultivating a garden and waiting for someone strong enough to challenge him properly. He defeated Zoro effortlessly during their first encounter at the Bharati, using only a small knife to demonstrate the gap between them. But Mihawk saw potential in Zoro's determination. When Zoro swallowed his pride and begged Mihawk to train him, the swordsman agreed. For 2 years, Zoro fought the island's human drills, aggressive primates that mimic sword techniques they observe. By the end, Zoro had mastered basic armament Haki and developed new sword techniques powerful enough to cut through steel. Sanji's training was less dignified. He was sent to Momoiro Island, the kingdom of Okama, cross-dressing individuals who follow Emporio Ivankov, a revolutionary army commander. Sanji spent 2 years running from Okama who wanted to dress him in women's clothing, a humiliating experience for someone as obsessed with traditional masculinity and chivalry as Sanji. But the constant running built his leg strength and speed to incredible levels. Ivankov also taught him recipes that could temporarily boost physical abilities, knowledge that would prove useful in future battles. Despite his complaints, Sanji emerged from the training far stronger than before. Nami studied meteorology on Weatheria, a small sky island inhabited by scientists who devoted their lives to understanding and manipulating weather. She learned to predict atmospheric changes with greater accuracy and gain access to technology that allowed her Clima-tact weapon to produce more powerful effects. Her ability to summon lightning, create mirages, and manipulate air pressure made her a more effective combatant, though her true strength remained her navigational genius. Without Nami, the Straw Hats would be lost at sea within days. Usopp landed on Boyan Archipelago, an island that was actually a massive carnivorous plant. Everything on the island looked edible, luring creatures into a false sense of security before the plant digested them. Usopp survived by befriending Heracles, a strange man who lived there and taught him about aggressive botany. Usopp developed new ammunition for his slingshot, using seeds that grew into attacking plants on impact. He also overcame his cowardice to some degree, though his tendency toward panic remained a core part of his character. Usopp's growth was not about becoming fearless, but about acting despite his fear. Chopper was sent to Torino Kingdom, a tribal island where humans lived alongside giant birds. The island's inhabitants possessed advanced medical knowledge, particularly regarding natural remedies derived from plants and fungi. Chopper studied under them, learning to create more effective rumble balls, candies that allowed him to access additional transformation points beyond the usual 3 his devil fruit granted.
Robin trained with the Revolutionary Army directly, learning combat techniques from Dragon's forces. Her time with them also gave her access to information about the Poneglyphs and the Void Century, filling gaps in her knowledge. She returned with improved physical strength and new applications of her devil fruit,
able to create entire body clones and even duplicate massive limbs. Her access to revolutionary intelligence made her even more valuable to the crew's ultimate goal of reaching Laugh-Tale. Frankie was blasted to Karakuri Island, the birthplace of Dr. Vegapunk. The island was covered in the scientists' abandoned inventions and laboratories, containing technology centuries ahead of anything else in the world. Frankie spent 2 years reverse engineering Vegapunk's designs, incorporating them into his own body. He returned as a cyborg with laser cannons, the ability to combine with vehicles, and radical hair transformations. His appearance became more mechanical, though his personality remained the same boisterous, emotional shipwright the crew loved. Brook ended up on Namakura Island, initially imprisoned by a tribe that worshipped him as Satan due to his skeletal appearance. He eventually escaped and became a popular musician, releasing albums that spread across the world. His fame as Soul King Brook would later provide the crew with unexpected advantages, as his celebrity status allowed them to move more freely in certain areas. Brook also mastered his Devil Fruit's ghostly abilities, learning to separate his soul from his body for extended periods of time and even freeze opponents with the chill of the underworld. When the crew reunited at Sabaody after 2 years, the difference was immediately apparent. They moved with confidence, handled threats that once would have challenged them with ease. The time skip represented not just a power increase, but emotional maturity. They had each faced their weaknesses alone and emerged stronger. The reunion itself was understated. No dramatic speeches or celebrations, just quiet acknowledgement that they were together again. That restraint made the moment more powerful. The New World greeted the Straw Hats with immediate danger. Their first major destination was Punk Hazard, the island where Akainu and Aokiji had fought for the position of Fleet Admiral. The 10-day battle had split the island into 2 halves, one consumed by flames and the other frozen solid. The government had officially closed the island, declaring it off-limits due to a chemical weapon accident that had occurred there years earlier. But when the Straw Hats arrived, they discovered the island was far from abandoned. Caesar Clown, a former colleague of Dr. Vegapunk, had taken over the island's abandoned facilities. Caesar was a scientist obsessed with weapons of mass destruction, believing the Terror was the highest form of scientific achievement. He possessed the gas fruit, allowing him to create and control various gases, from oxygen-depleting poison to explosive compounds. His experiments included testing chemical weapons on kidnapped children, slowly turning them into giants through a drug called NHC-10. The children's parents had been told their kids were receiving medical treatment, unaware they were being used as guinea pigs. Caesar worked for Don Quixote do Flamingo, producing artificial devil fruits called smiles. These fruits were imperfect replicas, created through a chemical process rather than natural means. Most smiles failed to grant any powers at all, and even successful ones produced strange hybrid forms, often placing the animal parts in awkward locations on the user's body. A successful smile might give someone a horse's body growing from their back, or arms that transformed into snake heads. Despite their flaws, smiles were valuable because they could create armies of devil fruit users cheaply. Doflamingo sold smiles to Kaido, who used them to bolster his crew's fighting force. This business relationship connected several storylines. Trafalgar Law proposed an alliance with Luffy specifically to disrupt the smile production. By destroying Caesar's laboratory and cutting off Kaido's supply, they could weaken the Emperor and create an opening to defeat him. The plan required moving through several stages: capture Caesar, destroy the production facility, then confront Doflamingo directly in Dressrosa. Dressrosa was a kingdom of passion and violence, built on secrets and lies. The country appeared prosperous. its citizens dancing in the streets and celebrating their king. But beneath this cheerful surface existed a darker truth. 10 years earlier, Doflamingo conquered Dressrosa through deception, using his string fruit to control King Riku like a puppet. He forced Riku to attack his own citizens, destroying the king's reputation in a single night. Doflamingo then appeared as the savior, defeating the seemingly mad king and taking the throne. The people cheered their new ruler, unaware they had been manipulated. Doflamingo turned citizens who opposed him into toys, using the powers of Sugar, a girl who ate the hobby fruit. Anyone transformed into a toy was erased from the memories of everyone who knew them. Families forgot their children. Wives forgot their husbands. The toys were forced to work as slaves, building Doflamingo's infrastructure, while their loved ones lived on without even mourning them. The cruelty of this power was existential. It didn't just imprison people, it erased their very existence from the hearts of those they loved. The Dressrosa arc introduced several important characters who would become part of Luffy's grand fleet. Cavendish was a narcissistic swordsman with a split personality, his alternate self being a murderous persona called Hakuba. Bartolomeo was a pirate who idolized Luffy to an obsessive degree, having witnessed Luffy's execution platform moment at Logtown years earlier. Sai led the Happo Navy, a group of martial artists whose techniques could destroy fortresses. Leo commanded a squad of Tuntata dwarves, tiny people with immense strength relative to their size. Each of these individuals fought in the tournament for the Flame fruit, and later joined forces to protect Luffy during the final battle.
The tournament itself was a trap designed by Doflamingo. By offering Ace's devil fruit as a prize, he attracted powerful warriors to one location, keeping them occupied while he pursued his true goals. Sabo's appearance and victory disrupted these plans, denying Doflamingo the chance to give the fruit to one of his subordinates. The moment Sabo ignited flames for the first time, carrying his brother's power, was deeply emotional for readers who had followed the series since Ace's death. It represented continuity, the idea that will and dreams pass on even when individuals fall. Doflamingo's defeat required the combined efforts of Luffy, Law, and eventually an entire nation of former toys who regained their identities and memories. When Sugar was knocked unconscious, her power deactivated, and every toy in the country transformed back into their original forms. The sudden return of thousands of forgotten people created chaos. Husbands appeared in front of wives who didn't remember getting married. Children returned to parents who thought themselves childless. The emotional weight of these reunions drove the population to support Luffy against their king. Luffy's final battle with Doflamingo pushed him to develop a new technique. Gear 4th combined his rubber body with armament Haki, inflating his muscles and coating them with hardened Haki. This form gave him immense physical power and the ability to compress his limbs like springs, launching himself at incredible speeds. The drawback was exhaustion. After Gear 4th ended, Luffy couldn't use Haki for 10 minutes, leaving him completely vulnerable. This limitation created tension in every fight where he used the form. After Dressrosa, 7 crews that had fought alongside Luffy insisted on pledging their loyalty to him. Luffy refused at first, not wanting subordinates or a hierarchical structure, but the captains performed a sake ceremony anyway, drinking and declaring themselves part of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet without asking permission. They claimed they would live their lives freely, but come when Luffy needed them. This compromise satisfied everyone. Luffy gained powerful allies without taking on the responsibility of commanding them directly. The Grand Fleet consisted of over 5,000 members across 7 crews, a force that would become significant in future conflicts. The journey to Whole Cake Island began as a rescue mission. Sanji's family, the Vinsmokes, had arranged a political marriage between Sanji and Charlotte Pudding, one of Big Mom's daughters. The marriage was meant to unite the Vinsmokes' military technology with Big Mom's pirate empire. Sanji agreed to the marriage to protect the Straw Hats,
believing his family would kill Luffy and the others if he refused. He left a note saying he would return, but Luffy chased after him immediately, unwilling to lose another brother. The Vinsmoke family were royalty of the Germa Kingdom, a nation without land. Germa existed as a fleet of ships that could combine into a moving fortress. The family specialized in genetic modification, having created an army of cloned soldiers with enhanced strength and obedience. Sanji's father, Judge, had experimented on his own children in the womb, attempting to remove their emotions and enhance their physical abilities. The modifications worked on his siblings, Ichiji, Niji, Yonji, and Reiju, but failed on Sanji. He grew up with empathy and kindness, traits Judge considered weaknesses. Judge imprisoned Sanji as a child, declaring him a failure and ordering him to pretend he was dead. Sanji's mother, Sora, had taken a drug during pregnancy to counteract the modifications, sacrificing her own health to give at least one of her children a normal emotional life. She died from the complications, but her sacrifice succeeded. Sanji retained his humanity, while his siblings became cold and cruel. The revelation of this backstory recontextualized everything about Sanji's character. His kindness toward women stemmed from his mother's sacrifice. His refusal to use his hands in combat came from Zeph's teaching that a cook's hands are sacred. Every quirk of his personality connected to trauma and love intertwined. Big Mom's territory, Totoland, consisted of 35 islands surrounding Whole Cake Island. Each island was themed after a different food or dessert. Cacao Island was covered in chocolate buildings. Nuts Island featured structures made from various nuts. Cheese Island smelled perpetually of dairy. This whimsical design contrasted sharply with the authoritarian rule Big Mom enforced. Citizens had to pay a toll of 1 month of lifespan every 6 months to live there, harvested through her soul fruit. Those who refused or couldn't pay were killed, and their souls distributed among objects and animals to create homies. Charlotte Pudding appeared sweet and kind, but her true personality was manipulative and cruel. She planned to shoot Sanji during the wedding ceremony, killing him in front of everyone as a demonstration of Big Mom's power. But during their interactions, Pudding found herself genuinely falling for Sanji. His kindness toward her, particularly his compliment about her third eye that she normally hid, broke through her emotional armor. When the moment came to shoot him, she hesitated, prying instead. This moment of genuine emotion disrupted the plan and gave the Straw Hats a chance to escape. The wedding ceremony descended into chaos. Luffy emerged from a massive cake, the Vinsmoke family revealed they had been betrayed and were about to be executed, and the Tamatebaka box, a treasure Big Mom had received from Fishman Island, exploded under the castle. The alliance between the Vinsmokes and Big Mom crumbled. Capone Beige, another member of the worst generation who had infiltrated Big Mom's crew, attempted to assassinate her during the confusion. The plan failed, but it created enough disorder for the Straw Hats and their allies to attempt escape. Big Mom's power made her nearly invincible. Her armament Haki was so strong that conventional weapons couldn't pierce her skin. Guns and swords broke against her body without leaving marks. The only time her defenses dropped was when she experienced psychological shock, such as when a picture of Mother Carmel, her adoptive mother figure, was destroyed. Big Mom's past included a traumatic incident where she seemingly ate her friends and caretaker during a dissociative episode, though the manga never showed this directly. The implication was enough to convey the horror. Big Mom's innocent desire to create a world where everyone could eat together at the same table was built on the foundation of violence and consumption.
The escape from Whole Cake Island required the combined efforts of the entire crew. Sanji baked a cake to satisfy Big Mom's craving and stop her rampage. Jinbei, a fishman and former warlord who officially joined the crew during this arc, used his mastery of fishman karate to steer the ship through dangerous waters. Pedro, a jaguar mink who had accompanied them, sacrificed his life to destroy enemy ships pursuing them. His final words to the crew were a plea to continue forward, to bring the dawn to the world.
This concept of the coming dawn appeared repeatedly in the story, suggesting a prophesied era when the world would be freed from oppression. Jinbei's addition to the crew was significant for several reasons. He was the first non-human member aside from Chopper and Brook, and his presence symbolized the alliance between humans and fishmen that Queen Otohime had dreamed of. Jinbei was also much older than most of the crew, bringing wisdom and experience. He had been a warlord, a knight of the Neptune royal family, and the captain of his own crew before joining Luffy. His loyalty came not from obligation, but respect. He believed Luffy would be the one to change the world, and he wanted to witness that change personally. Wano country was a nation isolated from the rest of the world, closed off by law and geography. The country existed as several islands clustered together, surrounded by dangerous whirlpools and waterfalls that made approach nearly impossible. Wano had refused to join the world government centuries earlier, maintaining independence through isolation. The country's culture resembled feudal Japan, with samurai serving as the warrior class and shogun ruling from the flower capital. 20 years before the Straw Hats arrived, Kaido and Orochi Kurozumi had conquered Wano through treachery. Orochi was the shogun, but he served as Kaido's puppet. Together, they enslaved the population, forcing them to work in factories producing weapons that Kaido sold to nations across the world. The Kozuki family, who had ruled Wano for generations, was nearly wiped out. Kozuki Oden, the daimyo of Kuri, was executed after being boiled alive in oil. His wife, Toki, used her devil fruit to send their children and several retainers 20 years into the future, prophesying that 9 samurai would appear to liberate Wano. Momonosuke, Oden's son, was an 8-year-old boy trapped in a 28-year-old body due to the time travel. He carried the weight of his father's legacy and the expectations of everyone who fought for Wano's freedom. Momonosuke had eaten an artificial devil fruit created by Vegapunk, giving him the ability to transform into a pink dragon similar to Kaido's azure dragon form. He struggled with cowardice, haunted by memories of his parents' deaths, but gradually found courage through his interactions with Luffy. The raid on Onigashima, Kaido's fortress, was the longest battle sequence in the series. Thousands of samurai, pirates, and minks joined forces against Kaido's beast pirates and Big Mom's crew, which had allied with Kaido. The battle involved dozens of individual fights occurring simultaneously across different floors of the fortress. Oda's artwork during these chapters showcased his ability to choreograph complex action sequences while maintaining emotional weight. Luffy fought Kaido directly multiple times, losing each encounter. Kaido killed him at least once, though the details remained ambiguous due to Luffy's awakening. When Luffy's fruit finally revealed its true nature as the mythical Zoan human fruit, model Nika, his entire fighting style transformed. Gear 5th gave him cartoon-like properties, allowing him to manipulate his surroundings like rubber and ignore conventional physics. He could run on air, bounce attacks back at opponents, and transform others into rubber temporarily. The form was ridiculous and joyous, Luffy laughing constantly as he fought. This reflected Nika's nature as the sun god, a figure of liberation who brought smiles wherever he went. The revelation that Luffy's fruit was special all along surprised many readers. For decades, the series had emphasized that Luffy succeeded through creativity and determination rather than inherent advantages. Learning his fruit was actually legendary and sought by the world government felt like it undermined that message. But Oda framed it carefully. Luffy's fruit only awakened because of his willpower and approach to combat. Someone else with the same fruit might never discover its true potential. The power didn't make Luffy special, Luffy made the power special. Kaido's defeat marked the end of an era.
He fell into the magma beneath Wano, his fate uncertain. Big Mom fell into the same chasm after her battle with Law and Kid. Wano was finally free after 20 years of suffering. Momonosuke, still appearing as an adult due to a wish granted by the dragon Shirahoshi, became the new shogun. Luffy, Law, and Kid were declared the new emperors, though Kid's claim was brief, as he was later defeated by Shanks in a single attack when he attempted to raid one of Shanks's allied territories.
After Wano came Egghead Island, Dr. Vegapunk's research facility. The arc introduced the concept of the Mother Flame, an artificial sun that powered advanced technology, but could also be weaponized. The world government used a sample to destroy Lulusia Kingdom, erasing it from the map entirely. This demonstrated that Im possessed weapons capable of destroying islands instantly, likely using ancient technology from the Void Century combined with Vegapunk's modern innovations. Vegapunk's broadcast to the world revealed critical information. He confirmed that the world was sinking, sea levels rising due to ancient weapons being activated. He explained that the Void Century's conflict was real, and that the world government had hidden the truth for 800 years. He didn't reveal all the details before his transmission was cut off, but he exposed enough to shake the world's faith in its rulers. Riots broke out in several nations. Member countries began questioning whether they should remain allied with the world government. The most recent chapters have followed the Straw Hats to Elbaf, the land of giants. Giants in One Piece live for 300 years and possess strength that dwarfs even the most powerful humans. Elbaf's culture values honor and combat prowess, with warriors earning respect through duels and feats of strength. The island connects to several earlier plot threads. Big Mom once lived there briefly as a child. Usopp has dreamed of visiting Elbaf since he first heard stories of the giant warriors. The arc is still ongoing as of this narration, so its conclusion remains unknown. Throughout all these adventures, certain themes recur constantly. The importance of inherited will, the idea that dreams pass from one generation to the next, the power of bonds forged through shared struggle, the belief that freedom is worth any cost. Luffy embodies these themes completely. He doesn't want to rule anyone. He doesn't care about wealth or fame except as markers of accomplishment. He simply wants to be the freest person in the world, and he wants the same freedom for everyone he cares about. Oda has stated in interviews that he knows how One Piece will end. He's known since the beginning, though details have evolved as he wrote. He's drawn the final panel, showing it to his editors, but keeping it secret from the public. He's promised that the conclusion will be satisfying, that every mystery will be answered, that the journey will be worth the decades readers have invested. The series has been running for over 27 years, making it one of the longest manga in history. Oda has sacrificed his health to maintain the weekly schedule, suffering from injuries and exhaustion, but he continues because he believes in the story he's telling. One Piece has become more than entertainment. It's a cultural phenomenon that spans generations. Parents who read it as children now share it with their own kids. The series has been translated into dozens of languages, reaching every continent. Its themes of freedom, friendship, and dreaming beyond your circumstances resonate universally.
Whether someone reads it in Japan, America, France, or anywhere else, the emotions remain the same. The manga has sold over 500 million copies worldwide, making it the best-selling manga series of all time. The anime has aired over 1,100 episodes. There are video games, merchandise, theme park attractions, and a live-action adaptation produced by Netflix that introduced new audiences to the story. Oda supervises adaptations personally when possible, ensuring they capture the spirit of his work, even when details change. One Piece reminds us that adventures don't end, they simply evolve. Each island reveals new mysteries. Each battle teaches new lessons. The treasure waiting at Laugh Tale is important, but the journey to reach it matters more. The friends made along the way, the people helped, the tyrants defeated, these things give meaning to the search. Luffy will find the One Piece eventually, but when he does, the treasure's material value will be secondary to what it represents. Proof that he achieved his dream, that he sailed the entire world, that he became the freest person alive. So let yourself drift now into peaceful sleep, carried by stories of seas and ships and dreams that won't die. Somewhere in the calm darkness, adventure waits for you too. The waves are gentle tonight. The stars guide you home. And tomorrow, when you wake, the Grand Line will still be there, stretching endlessly toward horizons you haven't yet imagined. If you've enjoyed this journey through the world of One Piece, drifting through facts and memories and quiet details, consider subscribing. There are so many stories left to explore, so many worlds waiting to carry you gently into sleep. Each one a different ocean, each one a new dream. Rest well, and may your sleep be as peaceful as the calm belt on a windless night.